This video is recorded to help my students to understand overloading functions. I gave several examples in this video. After chapter 17, we will revisit this example and rewrite 3 of those overloaded functions into one template functions. So the 3 one we will rewrite will be those one with 2 arguments. Okay, now first student need to understand the overload function. The overload function must have the same name, so you notice these 4 functions I declared here have the same name, all called myMax, and a different argument list. When we say argument list is different, that means the arguments' name are different. You can have the same name, they call AB, no problem, but it's different because the type and the order are different. You have integer, and double, student, those are all different type. Okay, so those are different argument lists. So those are overloaded function. I also overload the operator. I will use this extract operator to print out the student. So in order to print out the student, I did overload this operator. So when I overload this operator will return a O stream and take a O stream and a student object as the argument. We'll print out the student information and then return an O stream. So the idea why I still want to return the O stream, this is because I want this operator to be able to you see out a student that can continue print out a student. For example, this allows you to do this. See out S1, then S2. Assume S1, S2 are student object. The reason is first this operator combined with cout, which is the O stream, and S1, which is student object, will print out S1, then return you a cout. After return your cout, you use and return the cout combined with this S2 will continue print out at S2. That's why this operator required to return you an O stream. Okay, that's to implement those functions. I already provided you the main function to test those functions after you implement. First, I declare 2 students, right? S1, S2. One student ID is 1000, and his name is Tom. Another student, his GPA is 3.5. Another student, his ID is 1002, and his name is Jack, and the GPA is 3.85. Then I will print out my max S1, S2, will print out the maximum of those 2 students. Or of course, when you say what mean maximum of 2 students, you need to define what mean the student is bigger. Now that's will depend on your application. If your application want to sort student by his name, then you will say the student whose name string and the dictionary will on the later pages are that is called bigger, right? So the student name and the dictionary will go first, then you say that student small. That's if you want to sort a student by name. However, if you have a scholarship program, you want to select a student by the GPA, then you will say compare 2 students whose GPA is bigger, then I say this student is bigger, will be stacked out, okay? Depend on the application. So you need to define what I mean bigger first. So I will define the bigger is who has a large GPA. So in this case, let us say, of course, we define the student structure here, right? Let us do these functions. I already implemented all those functions in the so-called stable version, which means return some default value to make it be able to compile. Okay, now we do to modify this. Return the maximum among A and B. Of course, you can say if A greater than B, return A, else return B. You also can say compare A greater than B is true. If it's true, return A, else return B. Okay, so you can use this ternary operator to do this. Okay, here is the same thing. You just need to copy and paste for those, right? Even if you compare to double value is same thing. A greater than B. If true, return A, else return B. Okay. For the 3 value, so I can return my max A, B, then C. Now notice in the max function, I call another max function. The compiler will not confuse. Why? Because he look at the argument list. Okay, you have A, B are integers. So you call max AB, which means you call the first one. Pick up the maximum between A and B. Then use that as one argument combined with C, call max again. That means you will call the first function again. Okay? So this will give you maximum of ABC. Now, how about if I want to say find the maximum of a student? So what I will return? I will return the student whose GPA is bigger. So in that case, the condition is A.GPA compared with B.GPA. Which one is bigger? Is this true? If it's true, I return A, else I return B. Okay? So this is more like my definition. Who is bigger? The one has a GPA higher. The student is bigger. That's my definition. Again, I said, if you want to compare the name, it's also okay. That's really depend on the application. In my application, I want to select the GPA is higher one than the student is a bigger student. Okay? Now, you also can output the student. So output student, I just simply output a cout. Not cout, sorry. Your old stream is out. So I out. Then s.id. s.name. s.gpa. Now this is more like you print out a student with parentheses, then his ID, comma, then his name, comma, then his GPA, then close parentheses, then you print out a new line. Okay, that's the implementation. You say you have 4 max function. Those are overloaded. Then you have an overloaded operator. Now you will be able to print out the student. Okay. Now let's run this program. Then if you look at it, the maximum of 2 students is the student with a high GPA, which is Jack. His ID is 1001. Name is Jack. Okay. Maximum number between 1 and 2 is 2. Between 1.5 and 3 is 5. Between 1.5 and 1.2 is 1.5. Then you end this program. Okay. So this is an example about how to overload the functions and operators. If you have any questions, please give me an email.